All right, welcome back to Hope at Dawn. It is time for us to have a look at the newspapers and see what is being reported. And I see here on the top page of the Standard, Ruto hustler jet talk flies into cross winds. And I see here tough questions are being asked after the president claimed the luxury aeroplane he used for the state visit to the US was paid for by his friends. Who are these friends? What was their interest in the trip? Was the law breached in entering into such a deal? Why was KQ dragged into the matter earlier? I mean, this little thing has now become such a huge conversation in our country. And this is a story on page 4. And just going to that page to have more on the same and just to have a look, I see here President William Ruto saying, I am a very responsible steward. Believe you me, there is no way I can spend 200 million shillings. Professor Gitile Naituli saying here, he told us that he had paid for the private jet because it was cheaper than KQ. Where have the friends come from now? I see here Edwin Sifuna, who is the Nairobi senator, saying the president is obviously lying after being cornered by hawk-eyed journalism by Emmanuel Tom of KTN. I see Jimmy Wanjigi here also saying he must comply with Section 14 of the Leadership and Integrity Act. Now, this is quite a huge battle that I can see here. And the jet trip controversy, just on the same, 10 million shillings is the amount President Ruto says Kenyans paid for US trip. And I see here 98 million shillings amounting to cost for one-way trip to Atlanta, Georgia. 8 is the number of days Royal Jet plane was in President Ruto's hands. And 123,000 shillings to 234,000 shillings is actually the cost of one-way KQ business class ticket from Nairobi to New York. So what is really happening? Look at that story on page 4. And still on the top page, Duale, keep off military choppers. Page 6 here is saying Defense CS Aden Duale has announced that military helicopters will no longer be available for use by politicians to limit their misuse. This is on page 16 on the same. Aden Duale here saying, we have a policy. We are not going to carry politicians anymore. Helicopters are meant for specific functions within KDF. They are part of our assets in safeguarding the country. This is a story on page 6. Still on the top page, a pass NADCO report without editing. And this is Azimio. Kalonzo urges House to pass NADCO bills without amendments. Still on page 6. And I see here, family says Kirui body will remain on Mount Everest. This is on page 3, a story that we covered some time back. And I remember the body of a Kenyan climber who died on Mount Everest last week will remain on the mountain where he died, his family has said. Joshua Cheriot Kirui died while on a daring mission to reach the summit of Mount Everest without supplementary oxygen. And the 40-year-old mountaineer fell into a crevice just about 48 meters, 160 feet below the 8,849 meter peak, along with his Nepali guide. And it is said that the body will have to remain there. And look at this, it is estimated that the bodies of nearly 200 of the 330 climbers who have died on the world's highest mountain still remain there. There are so many bodies that have actually been here, and it is said that it would have cost about 24.7 million to retrieve the body, and it takes about 8 people to scale up the mountain to carry out the mission. So looking at the implication, the costs, and also just how much labor it would cost, the decision is that the body remains there, and may his soul rest in perfect peace. And moving on to page 2, I see Ruto Gachagua avoid infighting claims during city prayer event. The DP has been the subject of unprecedented attacks from the president's allies. Ruto's silence has been interpreted by observers as an endorsement of the attacks. And listen to this. President William Ruto and Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua did not discuss claims of infighting between them in the ruling UDA party when they shared the podium at yesterday's national prayer breakfast. So, this could be the same issue of Kenyans thinking that, oh, okay, kimewaramba, sijui nini, watu wanapigana, but these people are eating and drinking together and they are praying together. So sometimes even as we interfere with politics, let us be careful because we do not know what is going on behind the scenes. Let's go to the sports page of the Standard, page 32. This is how we'll stop Real Madrid. So Madrid, who eliminated Bayern in the semi-finals, stand in the way. I see Hammel's 35 and 34-year-old Drews face an uncertain future. This is the story on page 32. And Carlo Ancelotti, as Gigi taught me, Real Madrid coach here, saying there are times when you score every time you touch the ball, and there are times when you shoot a lot and fail. Isn't just that the story of life? All right, page 31, crunch moment as Shujaa chase World 7 Series ticket. I see Kenya must win today's promotion playoffs matches to return to the main event next season. The national sevens team are in group alongside Samoa, Spain, and also Chile. And lastly, knockout blow as no Kenyan boxer will fight at the Olympics. Very sad. All Kenyan boxers fail in their last bid to book Paris tickets at World Olympic qualifiers. It is same old story for local boxers who also failed at Africa Olympic qualifiers and also the world event in Italy. Let us go to the Daily Nation, and of course, the very top story here, still on the same, the Hustler jet, the Dubai connection. I see here who paid for his visit and why, as the president reveals Emirati connection in American visit, questions emerge of a sweet deal, the need for public disclosures, and how far friends can go in the context of interstate relations. This is a story on pages 4 and 5. I think this is where when you have told a lie, you have to look for another lie to cover up for that lie. Then you have to go on and on until you cannot lie anymore. But we don't know if he's lying, if he's saying the truth. But we will see how that goes. And this is a story still on the Standard and also the Daily Nation. So I will not go into it again. But let us look at something else. I see here Kuppet fights to retain welfare cash from members. See here the contested 200 shillings deduction appears on payslips as Social Welfare Association dues to Kenyan Women Teachers Association. So Kuppet up in arms over welfare cash from its members. This is a story on the back page of the Daily Nation. I see Kuppet received a memo from TSC on May 21st, 2024, indicating a decision to halt BBF fund deductions from teachers who are union members, which prompted the Special National Governing Council meeting on Wednesday after branches held similar sessions. Look at that story that is on the back page. In page 2 of the Daily Nation, woman very ill in Saudi Arabia as dream job turns into nightmare. These stories have been there over and over and over again. I see after working for only 2 months in the Gulf, her hopes of making it big appear to have shattered. I see Nebat Otiende, who is the victim's father here, saying our communication had deteriorated so much since she no longer had a phone and was relying on well-wishers to talk to us. Really, really, really sad. I see I asked her to explain what transpired in vain. Our communication had deteriorated so much, and this is from the father. And according to her father, her health condition worsened since she could not get immediate medical attention due to insufficient funds. This is really, really sad. And she now lives in a holding camp and relies on well-wishers for medication and also food. May our prayers go to her and to all those who can help and assist. May we look forward to assisting her. And that is on page 2 of the Daily Nation. And I see page 3, I see Butita here is making headlines. And I say, I am Ruto's spanner boy on issues to do with creative industry. Eddie Butita saying here, I think it would be great to make use of him, that is President Ruto, and set up structures we can leverage on, even when his time to leave comes. Listen to that. So Eddie Butita tightly clutches onto his iPhone, scrolling and pretending to be reading something important as we meander through the streets in downtown Nairobi to find a chill spot. And the story continues. This is a story on page 3, well written, very beautiful article. Comedian with the president's year, 31 years, is the age of the renowned comedian Eddie Butita, whose newfound camaraderie with President William Ruto has thrust him into unprecedented fame in the country. Interesting. This will do something for Eddie Butita. We are told that no publicity is bad publicity. All right, page 4, storm over luxurious Hustler jet is a story that has been well covered. Look at that story on page 4. And I see here, page 6, Ruto calls for calm amid UDA bad blood. Head of state now calls on leaders to work together for common destiny. That is a story on page 6 of the Daily Nation. And of course, let us go to the back page and look at what is being reported on our sports. I see page 42, moment of reckoning. Kenya's Shujaa kick-off attempt to gain promotion to World 7 Series. That is on the sports. And page 43, Dortmund bank on solid defense, quick transitions. Central defenders, Hammers and Slotterbeck have been spectacular. Have been in spectacular form for the German side in recent months. A story on page 43. And I see here a moment of truth for Kenya Sevens. Of course, Kenya fights to gain promotion back to their top tier series. And just to conclude with the Business Daily, I see here a beautiful story here with Dr. Aisha Edwards, who grew up in Trinidad and Tobago, the land of the hummingbird, where, as you would imagine, life was filled with fruits, fish, beach walks, calypso music, and intense religiosity. Look at this story on the, page 19, which is the full interview. That is on the live segment on the Business Daily. Beautiful, interesting story here. And looking more on the Business Daily, I see windfall for depositors as interest rates hit 24-year high. Banks offer handsome returns on retained deposits, 10.32% on fixed deposits, the highest since 2000. And moving on to page 2 of the Business Daily, still on the same route of flies into storm over private jet gift from our friends. Hapa nilo unaambiwa anything you say will be used against you. This time it's not the court of law, but in the magazines and in the newspapers and in the mouths of Kenyans. But anyway, that is it for the Daily Nation, for the Standard, and also for the Business Daily. That is on the news today, the newspapers. And grab a copy of your favorite. Hata wale ambao wanapenda Taifa Leo, ile top page kabisa ni marafiki walinilipia. That is what is trending. And I'm sure even on X could be the big story. But yes, you can also tune in to Hope FM at the top of every hour. We have some news updates as well right here on Hope TV, 7 p.m. Dira, 9 p.m. News Watch. Let's have a look at the video of the day.